Really?
What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS No Punt Intended, right here on DSM Media Live, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. You know the drill. Share it out, like it. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. And if you want your fantasy questions and your football questions answered, if you're on Twitter or Facebook, make sure you head over to YouTube so we can see your comments in the comments section. We can ask them live on the air and get these two experts that we have on the screen here with me to answer your questions, because we don't want my expert advice. I am joined by my man, my partner, Jason Sullivan, as always, and our buddy from Fairway to Heaven. He was on that show a few times with us, Detroit Dave, aka Drew. Welcome to our football party here.
Boys, thanks for having me. We're usually on the golf side, but I am always up to talk some football.
I'll be honest. We've had a few of the other. We had Rob on. We've had a couple of the golf guys on. We all started with football and then blossomed into golf and our things. So this is where we all got our start, right?
Exactly, man. No, it's and what a perfect time to come on. We're in the middle of the season. Lots of different elements, injuries, and whatnot. So it'll be good to talk about. And I appreciate you guys having me on. Yeah,
the elements. This is about the time of the year when the elements start to play a factor. So it's something that we have to talk about this week and as we go on. So it's really exciting. As always, our show is brought to you by Manscaped, the leader in men's grooming's needs. Pretty boy little Drew there. He looks like he uses Manscaped. He looks like he's all cleaned up there in the face and stuff like that. Make sure you check out manscaped.com. Promo code DFS gets you 20% off and free shipping. And it lets them know that we sent you from the show here. So make sure you use them and check them out. Holidays, Thanksgiving's next week. Christmas is right around the corner. My birthday's in 2 weeks. Just a little word, just so everybody knows, So check out manscaped.com. And you won't be disappointed. All right. Again, Drew, you are from the Approach podcast. You and Rob's been on the show before as well. You guys do a great job. You wrap the season because obviously golf kind of takes a little bit of a little downturn for the next couple of weeks. Over at the Approach and Fanshare Sports, you guys are doing a great job over there.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it. It was fun. We had a good Rob and I kind of started that really at the beginning of the playoffs and kind of rode it through to now. It'll be good to have a few weeks to recharge the batteries because golf season, really, that's all you get. But no, it's been a lot of fun. And Rob, as you guys know, is a great guy and wonderful to be on the show with. And I'm privileged and very thankful for it. And so I look forward to 2022. We're only just moving up here. And I know you guys are doing the same.
Yeah, Jason, I was just thinking, Jason, the other day or earlier today, Fairway to Heaven will be back in like 6 weeks.
Dude, I'm so pumped for that.
I can't wait for Fairway to Heaven to be back. I love doing DFS No Punt Intended, but once football ends, that's time for golf to start. And man, I can't believe football is going to end in 6 or 7 weeks, actually.
Dude, we know golf is the bread and butter at this point.
That's where we make our money.
I'm just happy that Drew's here today. Like, he's wearing the Lions hat, the Lions shirt. He's got me all pumped up. It's my fellow Detroit brother.
Hey, listen, there's not a whole lot to be pumped up about, man, but I'll try to bring some Lions energy for you.
I was going to say, if they were ever going to win a game last week, they could have, but they couldn't. This week they're playing Cleveland. Who knows what's going on in Cleveland? Maybe they could tie another game this week.
Yeah. Hey, I don't think any team's ever had 2 ties, so we might as well just
kind of a record at some point.
Yeah, we had the 0-16, now the 0-17 is not possible. So let's go for 2 ties. I kind of like where your head's at with that one, man.
Yeah, I like it too. Jason's in the dark right now. It's okay. Let him be black, screened right there for now. All right. So while he's in the black there, I was going to say it for the end of the show, but I think it's time to have a little fun. Hold on a second here. We'll get right into sharing. There's a DSM. We'll get into the DraftKings thing in a second, but there's a DSM Fantasy Football League with all the partners and all the people that are involved with DSM. I am, without a doubt, blowing the competition away at 9-1. Okay.
Is this why Jason left?
This might be why Jason left.
It makes sense. Okay.
So I'm going head-to-head with Jason this week, and it's actually my worst projected week because, I'm still suffering from injuries. Cordell Patterson out, or I think he's playing, but I left him on my bench.
He's not playing.
Is he not playing?
Sorry,
no.
All right. And I also have Cooper Kupp on bye this week. But these are the teams here. This is my 9-1 team on the left, anchored by Lamar Jackson and Christian McCaffrey. He's on the right here with Aaron Rodgers and Dalvin Cook. I need your opinion. I'm favored to win by, about 14 points this week. I want to know your opinion on what team's going to win here.
Yeah, Phil, I think I got to give it to you, man. Also, credit to you, brother, for going 9-1 with Christian McCaffrey just being dinged up all year.
Bench. I also have Logan Thomas. I also have Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Michael Gallup, who have all been on IR for about 4 to 6 weeks each.
Yeah, that's rough. I mean, Jerry for Jason, Jerry Jeudy being banged up, Dave Montgomery being on IR most of the year. What's Jason's record?
Jason, he's actually been on a little bit of a winning streak right now. Where is he? He is 5-5 now. I think he's won 2 or 3 in a row.
Okay, so he's also had Dalvin Cook's been injured. He got Aaron Rodgers with COVID. I really like his receivers. Dalvin Cook's kind of not been fantastic. But listen, outside of your tight end, which is sometimes it produces. Other times
kind of a shot in the dark because I've bounced around. I have Logan Thomas. I had Dawson Knox and he got hurt, so then I went to someone
with
else.
The hand.
I've been bouncing around tight ends and streaming them every week right now because Logan Thomas just never seems to want to come back.
No, the fact that you're where you're at and Christian McCaffrey just coming back. I mean, you saw last week he had 100 all-purpose yards in the first half.
Yeah,
it's like a 43% target share on passing routes. So pretty interesting stuff that you have Christian McCaffrey coming back. That's a pretty loaded team. Just some tough injury luck over on Jason's squad.
Yeah. Hold on, no, don't give it. You got to give me credit for the injury. I've had more injuries than anybody.
I mean,
nobody had to face the injuries that I had to face and keep that night. I am the number 1 scoring team in the league, but this might be the week that breaks my win streak because I actually think Jason has a really strong chance this week. Yeah,
and I know that Jason.
I don't like a lot of my matchups.
Like Dalton Schultz last week, and I'm sure we'll talk about him later.
Yeah,
it was nothing. Goose egg last week. Just because kind of the way that the game went and them getting a couple early rushing touchdowns. Awesome matchup against Kansas City, who's putrid against tight ends. I love that for him. And so Dave Montgomery working back in. So hey, listen, he's definitely got a chance. Fantastic 2 wide receivers there. But yeah, you adding back Christian McCaffrey, that's a big deal for your team, especially moving towards the playoffs.
Absolutely. I love it. I just love trash talking. It was a cheap league. It was just a little friendly league. I love the trash talking.
Dude, I had to sign out because of all this Phil talk. It was kind of making me nauseous. I had to sign out.
That's what he said.
I know I rubbed some people the wrong way. If we were
me for sure.
Thousands of dollars,
definitely.
I wouldn't take it like this and have fun with this. But, this is the only week in the league that matters. It's the week that me and Jason are going head-to-head. That is the only thing that matters. I didn't care about anything else. I just got to beat Jason. But unfortunately, this is probably the week that he's going to beat me. All right.
That's right.
Now that we got that fun out of the way, you're going down, Jason. First beer in Clearwater the next time we go is coming out this week.
This guy?
Yeah, right now. All right. So we touched on it at the top of the show. We're getting into mid-November. Weather's starting to change. Injuries are starting to mount up. You have to take the weather into account, don't you guys, when you're looking at games this week?
Yeah, I'll go. I mean, for me, absolutely. So when we get to this part of the week, DFS wise, I mean, fantasy wise, you kind of are stuck with who you're stuck with on your roster.
Right.
But yeah, if there's any way to gain an advantage at all, and I mean, we saw a couple games last weekend with heavy rain, immediately kind of takes the quarterback out of the game to an extent. It's more turnover prone when we're putting the ball in the air that much. So definitely, yeah, it definitely leans towards running backs anytime we're in any condition. I think that a team's going to be handing the ball off at a higher rate than they would, and that certainly affects a lot of teams. In certain teams, it affects more than others tend to be extremely pass heavy. So it's definitely something to think about. I mean, I remember when we played the Eagles in the Snow Bowl, right? Yep. And I believe it was LaShawn McCoy had like 718 yards, I believe. It certainly felt like it. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you got to look for any sort of advantage that we can. So definitely keep an eye on it. Even quarterbacks that tend to struggle when the weather gets colder at the back half of the year, and we've kind of seen it over time, that can give us an advantage DFS wise for sure.
Absolutely. Jason, do you, what are you looking at when you're looking at the weather? Is it just straight bad weather, stay away? Or are you doing what Drew said? You're looking at the bad weather and whether the player can perform or not in it.
Yeah, no, I think it's what Drew said pretty much. You got to look at this time of the year. You got to look at the dome quarterbacks, how they do outside. You got to look at the warm weather quarterbacks, how they do outside. Guys like Aaron Rodgers, he can get it done. Tom Brady, he can get it done warm or cold. So it's not going to make a difference for those guys. But some of these guys that are used to playing in the dome and then have to go play outside when it's, Kansas City with the wind whipping around or whatever the case may be. So that's a thing too. Like, we talk about snow and rain, but wind too. Like you'll see a lot of games like Cleveland gets a lot of wind, like for whatever reason. Pittsburgh will be windy and rainy. It's just like, that's just for whatever reason, you got to watch out for those games because you don't want to take a quarterback in a game where you're going to throw the ball 15 times.
Absolutely agree with you 110% on that. All right. So Drew, you're the guest. You're the guest of honor. So what game are you looking at this week in this 1 and 4 o'clock slates here, that you're zoning in on is probably the best game to start with?
I mean, I think personally the 1 to 4 o'clock window, I mean, the best game's got to be the Cowboys Chiefs game, in my opinion. Lots of offense, right? Yeah. And the Chiefs look like they may have figured something out last week. I'm not all the way there yet. I mean, it's just been such a rocky road that I don't think 1 week is going to kind of clear things up. And then Dallas comes off the flop the week before and then just kind of puts their foot on Atlanta's throat. I mean, that was a bad football game. So I think that's probably, to me, the game of the week. Of course, I'll be keeping my eyes on the Lions and the Browns. It might just be me and Jason.
When we build lineups, I don't even know if Jason told you, we have a little 3-way competition here where we do a little 3-way battle. I've won 5 weeks in a row, 6 of the last 7 weeks. So I am the 5 times.
Jason, I see what you mean. He's kind of picking on you at this point. He pulled up the fantasy stuff. Hey, he's talking about his winning streak.
I've beaten everybody. I even beat Rob a few weeks back.
I always talk about being team no screenshot. Like, I don't want to screenshot anything ever. Whatever the opposite of that is, that's what Phil is. He's like,
I love it.
I've changed so many golf lineups with screenshots for sure. All right, so I want to stay on the Dallas game with both of you. And Jason, Dallas Kansas City game. I tried building a stack with that game because I agree with Drew. It's going to be where the most points come out of. Do you think it's going to be super chalky though?
I think it's going to be, yes. The problem is, so I was trying to build with that game too. The problem is the weapons are so expensive for both teams.
I wrote down so pricey right next to it.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about Patrick Mahomes being priced way up after really only one good game. Tyreek Hill is priced over $8,000 now. Even CeeDee Lamb finally is getting that price jump that he probably should have gotten a long time ago. So that game's tough. Even Amari Cooper's up to, I think it's like 6,600, something like that. So it's tough to go either way. Dak's way up there now. We're used to seeing Dak in the high 6s, and he's, I think, 7'4"?
He's 72, like Dak.
72, yeah. So it's tough to stack that game. I definitely like that game, but if it's going to be chalky, I'm probably going to move away from it.
All right. So I'm just gonna do it. Like, I built a stack. I built a stack out of that game. I went with Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott. I came back with Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, and I threw Michael Gallup because even though he just came back, even after one game back, he's cheap, and he got 5 targets right off the bat. And he's got a really good relationship with Dak Prescott. But by going Prescott, Zeke, Gallup, and then Hill and Kelsey, it only leaves you 3,900 for your defense and other 3 spots. So it really puts you into – I started playing around with some value wide receivers and stuff to see if I can make it work. And I found a couple of combinations that I feel may be workable there. But, I mean, have you ever built a lineup and started with your core stack and only had less than 4K? I mean, that's just – I don't know. That just seems insane to me.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's tough. So I like the Gallup idea, right? He's the kind of the way to make the Dak stack work, the Dak stack, for lack of a better term. But listen, yes, he had 5 targets last week. We also got to take into consideration the game was out of hand last week. I think Dallas could have put up 70 if they wanted to last week. And Kansas City's just been really bad defensively. And so you could even throw the Dalton Schultz stack in there for me, I think is an interesting one to look at. He's at 4,600. But if you're wanting to stack Dak with anybody, you got to either go Gallup or Schultz, because you just put yourself – you're just picking players from the bottom that you're just hoping to have a good game. Where if you don't go that route and you don't go CD and Dak, then you have the option to actually play some guys that you have a pretty dang good feeling going into that week you're going to produce, where other guys, they might just do absolutely nothing for you, and that puts you behind the 8 ball. I like the game, but to your point on Kansas City side of the football as well. Anytime, it's basically 3 guys, right, that you're looking at from that offense. It's Patrick Mahomes, it's Tyreek Hill, it's Travis Kelce, and DFS knows that as well, and that's why their prices are so high. So although you kind of know that stack is going to be super successful, you may try to find something better so you could fill out the roster a little bit more. You know what I mean?
Absolutely agree with you on that. All right, Jason, do you have another game that you really like? Because it's obviously not the Detroit game, right?
Yeah. No, it's not that game.
Well, first off, we can just throw that out there. The Detroit game is Cleveland. It's going to be rainy. Cleveland's a mess on offense right now. I don't even know if Baker's playing or not. So
he's in. I think, yeah.
I mean, there's no way you could play many options from that game, and it's supposed to be bad weather. I actually like the Lions' defense this week as a super, super, super cheap defense.
Yep.
Yeah, you're like real poor and you need like a ramen noodle. The Lions they're the ramen noodle of the week.
Come on, now. Give yourself some credit. You tied the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I know. It was also Mason Rudolph playing quarterback, who was just terrible. But yeah, I'm with you, man. Hey, look, I like that though.
Baker Mayfield, they're about the same level, right?
Oh,
that is disrespectful.
So I actually love Baker Mayfield, but not this week. This game is awful. I want nothing to do with this game. Maybe I don't. Nick Chubb, I think, is going to be back. They're saying so. Maybe Chubb, but I would not take any of the other weapons on either side in this game. I actually like to stay in the division, though. I really like the Minnesota-Green Bay game. And the main reason, actually, is Kirk Cousins being so cheap. I feel like there's not very many good cheap options this week, and him being 6,100, I think is a really good option. He's averaging 21 points a game. Obviously, we know his weapons are stacked, basically. Yep. So Jefferson has finally got the price hike, too. So I'm going to stack Cousins with Jefferson and Conklin. I think Conklin's kind of underrated as a tight end. 3,900.
Very underrated as a tight end.
And then it still gives you the ability to put Devontae Adams back on the stack. So I like that. I'm going to do that. It leaves you at 4,700 the rest of the way, but I feel like you can kind of make that work.
Yeah, 4,700 is manageable. Are you thinking in any way that, I mean, it's 48 is the projected point total at this point right now for that game. It's a tough division battle. It's, the division isn't wide open per se, but Minnesota's fighting for a wild card spot. Green Bay wants that number 1 seed in the playoffs. Sometimes those division battles tend to be harder fought, in all divisions, really, to an extent, unless it's, Detroit going up against one of those teams. So I had a long day today, so the jokes are just flowing off here. No one's ever going to come on this show again. Is there any merit to that theory that those divisional matchups in
100%, in my opinion, at least. Yeah. You just know the other team so well, right? You see them 2 times a year. The turnover in the NFL isn't sufficient enough to where it's like you're seeing completely different teams. Like maybe Detroit, for example, you were seeing a completely different team, but they're like a college team. But no, it absolutely they seem to be lower scoring. Zimmer knows to an extent on how to try to defend what Aaron Rodgers likes to do. And to me, Green Bay's defense has really turned the corner, especially with the way they played last week against Seattle. So that's something that stands out to me. Green Bay is also getting healthier. The Devontae Adams, he's just a plug and play. There's a reason he's at the top of the board every week. He's just going to get 10, 12, 14 targets. It's just the way it works. But yeah, to your point, though, Minnesota does have weapons. I mean, Justin Jefferson is one of the elite young players in this league. And it's not like Adam Thielen has just all of a sudden become terrible. He's still a great 2 to have. And again, the things haven't been great on the ground with Dalvin Cook. He hasn't been getting into the end zone. So I think it's hard for me to spend the Dalvin Cook money there in the Minnesota game. I think probably for me, yes, go the Conklin route or because it's tough to pay the Jefferson money too, although he kind of does deserve it. But I think Adam Thielen's also a very nice pivot off of that as well.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, so another theory question for you guys. A game that on paper, if it was just played at a neutral field at a neutral time this week, I think would be, a really good game to play. But one thing I always hate in just betting games and watching games, predicting games, figuring out how they play is that West Coast coming to East Coast and playing a 1:00 game. On paper, Jacksonville is one of the worst defenses. San Francisco, starting to get a little momentum, just, surprisingly beat, the Rams last week. Jimmy G is cheap. You can get someone like Deebo Samuel in your lineup with him. Put Kittle, who's finally healthy and is at, let's be honest, when Kittle's healthy, he's almost up there with Kelsey and Darren Waller. He's that good. And, non-statistically speaking, his blocking is amazing as well. And then you could come back with, say, like an Agnew, a super cheap guy like that. You still get well over $5K to build it. But the problem is you're talking about a West Coast team coming off a huge division win, going East Coast, playing a 1:00 game. So in my mind, it seems like it should be a smart play, but I'm coming up with theories on why it shouldn't be.
I think this game just depends on how deep you're going to stack it. I don't know if I go full on game stack, but at this point, I almost don't know how you don't play Deebo. He's kind of getting to that range of Devontae Adams, where Absolutely. He's just he's an automatic 20 to 30 every single week. It's pretty hard to keep him out. And Jimmy G's price being at 5,600, I feel like that's super cheap for a guy that he's not going to wow you. He'll probably get about 17 to 20. He's not going to be his boom factor is not that high, but at 5,600, I don't mind that. And like you said, there are decent options to come back, and I think Arnold's an option, Agnew's an option. James Robinson, even he's pretty solid at his price point, so I don't mind that game at all.
Yeah, Drew.
Yeah, for me, I worry more, and I know that this sometimes doesn't ring true, but I worry more about the younger teams with newer head coaches when we talk about traveling for the West Coast, right? With Kyle Shanahan, I have less worries that his team's going to be ready. The way they came out last week and the game plan they had was tremendous. And to your point, Deebo Samuel lines up everywhere, whether it be the backfield, whether it be in the slot, whether it be on the outside. They're doing, and that's what Kyle Shanahan's the best at, right? He finds ways to get his best players the ball. And Jimmy Garoppolo's actually been under the radar good to an extent. Like for his price point, I'm all about it. The Jags I just have to stay away from them to an extent. Yes, Jamal Agnew has the ability to break the big play. We saw it last week. We saw it in Detroit. But again, it's just there's nothing that makes me confident that I can play with the Jacksonville Jaguars that I'm willing to start. So I definitely
I've been loving Agnew for a few weeks now. But now all of a sudden his price is starting to creep up where 4,700, It doesn't sound like a lot, 4,700. Normally that would be considered like a value play for me. But when he was just a few weeks ago, 3,500, and now he's already up to, he's literally only got 3 or 4 weeks in his whole entire career that he's scored double-digit fantasy points. So it's not like he's like, I can't justify the price enough, to make that work. But I was just trying to find a cheap way to come back in that game, off of the 49ers.
Absolutely. And then, George Kittle, too, by the way. He looked really, really good last week.
Yeah.
On
a non-fantasy note, is there anybody more fun to watch block and play the line of scrimmage?
No.
I mean, he just seems like he would make a great WWE wrestler. Like he just loves hitting people and tackling people, and he literally has a blast doing it.
Did you guys see when he lit up that highlight video of him lighting up Von Miller? When he
yeah.
Awesome.
Welcome to LA, Von Miller.
Yeah, that was fantastic. All right. You guys have any other games you like? I mean, I have a couple are written down here that I figured you guys would touch on, but any other games that you guys like?
I have one. I actually am interested in Washington and Carolina.
Okay. I'm interested in hearing this.
So I like playing Cam Newton this week. And I know that seems – and I also think Cam Newton's pretty washed, by the way. And I've kind of been on record the last couple of years saying this. But I do think there's excitement. There's a vibe and energy going through in Carolina right now. And I don't think it's necessarily sustainable. But I do think there's value this week potentially. Cam Newton's at 5,100. His ability to rush the football on top of, anytime they get down to goal lines, I'm sure you saw he sniped 2 touchdowns last week away from your boy CMC. Mm-hmm. But anytime he gets down there, he has the ability to score. You have no Chase Young on the other side. Christian McCaffrey's back. Christian McCaffrey had a huge first half last week. And we know that Christian McCaffrey and Cam have chemistry. And then you throw in DJ Moore, who's kind of been disgruntled because Sam Darnold's just been terrible. Mm-hmm. So I actually do like – I would be willing to stack a DJ Moore and Cam Newton. DJ Moore is down to 5,900.
Yeah,
I found it interesting. I was looking through, and one of the guys that I like, I know is your boy Devontae Smith. I like him as well, but Devontae Smith is $500 more than DJ Moore at this point, which I find kind of interesting. So I'm willing to, I'll take, of course, a stack with CMC, but if you can't afford it, I think a Cam Newton, DJ Moore stack might just be in the cards this week. And again, the Washington football team's 31st against wide receivers. They're not a great defense. You take away their blue chip best end. And again, the high vibes. I could be all in on Carolina. I don't have much from the Washington side of things, but I will be definitely playing some Carolina, and I might look like an idiot, but we'll see.
That's definitely a boomer bust kind of move. And that's what you live off of in fantasy, basically. You, like all of us and all. Jason?
I was thinking the same game, honestly. I really like that. And I wasn't even thinking to put in DJ Moore, but that price is so crazy, I feel like, for him. And just to see him in the 5s is nuts. I was thinking about just stacking Cam with CMC and then coming back with Scary Terry on the other side. I feel like there's not much on Washington besides McLaurin that really gets you too excited. But,
which makes it even more impressive that he's getting he's still getting his. And that team has a backup quarterback and really Antonio Gibson. That's it.
Yeah.
How good would Scary Terry be if he was with a real quarterback?
Yeah.
Like that's a legit question to me. Like, because I said it before this season. I said Washington was a quarterback away from dominating the NFC East for a long time because you got Gibson, you got McLaurin, you've got a great defense. Again, unfortunately, Chase Young's out for the year and all. But,
to me, he's top 5-7. Yeah. Between probably top 7 wide receiver if you put him with anybody with a capable arm. Heineke's been fine, but
absolutely. All right, so a couple quick hitters here on a couple quick games. Bad weather may be a factor in all of these. These are games I'm not playing until I check Sunday morning to see. Like, I know Philadelphia, the whole East Coast and Northeast Coast, there's weather rolling in. They're not sure whether it's going to roll in at 2, 4, 6, 7, when that weather's going to come in. So that, I do like the Eagles and Jalen Hurts this week. I always like Jalen Hurts in fantasy just because he always puts up numbers. They're getting the ball moving. And the Saints, you can't run the ball against them, but you can pass the ball against them. So a Hurts and Smith, mini stack there. If the weather isn't going to come in till later in the day, I think it's something to consider. And also same thing with the Bills and the Colts, another team, another bad weather potentially late in the afternoon there. So I don't know. Bills and Colts, Josh Allen and Carson Wentz have both in the last year or so started to get much better playing in bad weather, especially Josh Allen. So I don't mind that game, especially if the weather's being pushed off till later. I don't know what you guys think of either of those two games.
Yeah. Trust me, I was debating. I live 10 minutes from First Energy Stadium. I was thinking about going to the Lions-Browns game, but one, the Lions are terrible, and it's supposed to be like raining and snowing all day. It's interesting in the Eagles game, the Eagles Saints game. I just don't feel comfortable either way on either side of it. Right. I will play some Devontae Smith. Just because, 2 touchdowns last week. He's clearly coming into his own. He's a fantastic route runner. But the Bills-Colt game is interesting. So I talked about teams that I think, and I know this seems weird, but the Buffalo Bills have not been able to run the ball successfully this year. And when you throw into the elements and you throw in Jonathan Taylor on the other side, and the Colts like to run the ball first, and Buffalo likes to run some interesting concepts offensively, and they like to air it out. I'll be interested to see if Buffalo gets better rushing the ball as the season goes on, because if they don't, come the playoffs in cold weather, I think there's some interesting factors that may come into that if they're not able to run it consistently. But if the weather's okay and you're willing to blow the Steph Diggs and Josh Allen money, you saw Steph Diggs at 160 yards last week. That's worth spending a little bit. And then, of course, Jonathan Taylor's a plug and play if you can afford him, in my opinion. He's top 5 running back in any way you slice it.
Absolutely. I went mini. I haven't even tried to throw Taylor into it to see what it does to the money yet. But I went Allen, Diggs, Pittman. Then I went Wentz, Diggs, Pittman. And both of them leave you between 47 and 5,100 left over. And again, if the weather is holding off till later, which is a chance. I just checked the Philly weather. Now they're saying it's like 3:45 is the first chance that rain starts rolling in. So these early games, the weather might hold off just long enough for some of these games.
So what do you guys think about Taylor, though? Like you mentioned Taylor a little bit. He's been so good, obviously, for like the last 6 games or so. But Buffalo is really good against the run. Does that deteriorate at all, or you still think that he's a plug and play?
Plug and play for me.
Yeah,
for me, he's plug and play. To be honest with you, they're going to commit to it because, as you probably know, Phil, you have to get the running game going with Carson Wentz. He becomes a different quarterback when you do. And so I think they're committed to that. And, man, Buffalo's been weird. Like, they've had 2 really weird spots this year where it's like the team didn't even show up. I just think Jonathan Taylor at this point is – yes, to your point, I do hesitate spending that much a little bit, but at the end, if I can make it work in my lineup, I'm still plugging in Jonathan Taylor.
He hasn't had less than 21 or 22 points since week 3 against Tennessee. He hasn't played any major defenses. Tennessee, was the last one that held him in check. Miami, Baltimore, Houston, San Fran, Tennessee. Some good defenses, but no great defenses. And he's just a touchdown monster. Even if they hold him in check, there's a really good chance, especially if there's bad weather, that he's going to at least get a chance to punch 1 or 2 in, for a touchdown. And I'm not trying to hype up Carson Wentz or anything like that, but he's starting to get a little comfortable. He's starting to figure things out there in Indy, get some of that confidence back. On a side note, if he could figure it out and get back to 2017, 18, even 2019 Carson Wentz level, having a Michael Pittman and a Jonathan Taylor, he has got more talent now in that Indy locker room than he ever had in Philly. So he is set up to continue trending upwards, with this team.
Hashtag elite quarterback.
Hashtag Wentz is elite. Can I bring it back someday? I
don't know.
I would never tweet that ever again last year.
Yeah, it's hard when he like underhand throws a pick every week to give that elite hashtag.
True. True. Just so you know, last year on previous network I worked on, I said Carson Wentz was the number 4 quarterback in the NFL. Boy, was I wrong on that one going into last season.
We all make mistakes. It's the people that act like they don't that are the ones I don't like. Listen, we all sit back and have a laugh at ourselves sometimes. That's how it's supposed to be.
I love laughing at myself because it happens all the time. All right. So a couple more little quick hitters here. I'm kind of intrigued by Cincinnati versus Vegas. It's like probably one of the only dome games, one of the only games that weather is not going to play a factor. Cincinnati's kind of been on a little bit of a downward trend, but the Raiders defense, it's not very good anymore. It's definitely trending down. It might be an opportunity with Cleveland struggling, Pittsburgh struggling. Baltimore's still the class of the AFC North there, the AFC there. But this is a game that Cincinnati could look at and think they can get themselves back on track and against the Raiders defense. So something about playing Burrows, whether you play Mixon or you play Chase Young or you play their tight end, Hunter Renfrow for the Raiders is always a target machine. And Drew, I love targets. I watch target trends and targets for wide receivers nonstop. You can never go wrong with playing Hunter Renfrow because no matter how many targets he gets, his price never goes up. For some reason, he just stays right at the same level of price every single week. So, you guys got any thoughts on that game?
Hunter Renfro's the dude you work with. He's really good at his job. You didn't even know you ever worked there, right?
Man. I absolutely love Hunter Renfrow, so don't make fun of him.
No, I'm not. Listen, I do too.
He's like he doesn't look like a football player. He could come into the pizza shop and apply for a job as a delivery driver. And be like, all right, you got a license? I wouldn't know he's an NFL player.
That's too funny. No, listen, Cincinnati coming off a bye, which they needed too. Listen, Jamar Chase is fantastic. Joe Burrow, I do think. Listen, they have tons of weapons on that offense. I think coming off a bye, I'd be happy looking down to the line of a Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow. I know T. Higgins has started to get more targets, so he's an interesting play as well. But then on the other side of it, it kind of feels this way every year with the Raiders, right? Like they have some success out of the gate, and I think for their psyche and what happened against Kansas City last week can't be good, right? They just got their doors blown off. So I may just stay away from the Raiders altogether, but I'm definitely intrigued with Cincinnati coming off a bye in a dome with the speed that they kind of have on the outside. And then you could mix in, Joe Mixon. There's a lot of value there. It's just like, which is the right guy to play? And everybody's more than likely, if they're playing that, going to lead Jamar Chase. So do you go with T. Higgins? Probably, potentially, and the price is a hell of a lot better.
Their tight end.
Yeah, that certainly could be a play too. You could probably play all three of them if you're that confident. I mean, if you look at the way that the Raiders played, to your point last weekend defensively, I think you have to at least have. If you're playing multiple lineups, you definitely have to have some exposure to Cincinnati.
Yeah, agreed. Jason?
I thought about that game too. The only thing that worries me a little bit is the price points of some of these guys. Jamar Chase is obviously, we know he's having a great season. He hasn't been as good the past 3 weeks or so, and his price is still up there pretty high. And so is Burrow's actually. I thought Burrow would be a little cheaper this week, so I was kind of hoping to see that price point drop a little bit. But like you said, I mean, you can't go wrong with it. Burrow and any of those weapons. I don't really like anything on the Las Vegas side, like you guys mentioned too. You just never know what to expect with that team. I mean, Hunter Renfro's good, obviously, but even his success recently has been because he's getting in the end zone every week. Yeah. So at some point, he's not going to score a touchdown.
Not to be disrespectful, Phil. Hunter Renfro he's a solid player.
No,
right?
He is. He's just a guy he's an unassuming player that's just I think he is profiting from the fact that the wide receiver room, not just Henry Ruggs, but in general, it's just a train wreck in the Raiders. For sure. Everything that's going on. The
Henry Ruggs thing hurt them a lot, though, because Henry Ruggs was the guy that could stretch the field. And you saw it last week against Kansas City. Because Derek Carr was really phenomenal up until the last couple of weeks. So I definitely think the Henry Ruggs thing, having that deep threat guy that can stretch the field and kind of clear out the middle or any out routes is super valuable. And so things aren't looking great for the Raiders. And then Damon Arnett, Scoofy, he got cut. It's always something with the Raiders. Now they're in Vegas. It's probably going to be more stuff. It's just kind of the way it is. It's actually
an interesting topic because, the Raiders, they just spent all that money moving to Vegas, building that stadium. But because of Gruden, because of Ruggs, and everything that's been going on around this team, do they kind of got to blow it up and start all over there? Because, I don't know, you need a new coach, a new system. Derek Carr's getting older. He hasn't had major success. You got injury-prone players with Josh Jacobs and
and they drafted like crap. I mean, they've drafted terribly, and that comes back to Mike Mayock and of course John Gruden as well. But I mean, their first-round picks are flying, into free agency and getting cut left and right, and it just kind of shows you it. During the draft, you're always like, okay, here's the Raiders. They're going to pick some wild-ass dude that isn't even on anybody's board till the third round, and that's what they did. That's what they continue to do, and now they're out of the league. So I don't know if you have to blow it up because I think there are some pieces there. But, man, being in that purgatory, it's tough because you got to decide whether we're going all in or we're not. And, yeah, to your point, new beautiful stadium. And then you kind of the season's gone just at this point.
Maybe
so I
blow it
can't
up
trust
the wrong word. Maybe reset is the word, because you need fresh faces in the front office and the coaching staff and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I also, to your point, they're kind of talent ridden at multiple positions defensively, and kind of their star pieces have had trouble. And Josh Jacobs, who they spent, again, huge draft capital on, can't stay on the field.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're like one of those teams too that, I mean, obviously I know that this firsthand, but they don't have any identity. They don't know what they're trying to do. Are they a defensive team? They seem like their defense was a lot better at the beginning of this year, but then it's kind of tailed off a little bit. They don't know if they're a team that's going to take shots. They don't know if they're Josh Jacobs, shows up once every few games. It's like they don't know what they want to do, which is not great.
That's a great point.
Yeah, it's very smart. Very good. All right, let's build some lineups. Let's have our little competition. Let's see if the 5-time – nobody's getting my 5-time defending champion reference.
Take
there.
a screenshot, bro. Take a screenshot.
Sorry.
Yeah.
All right, let's bring this stuff up on the screen here, and let's see. I guess we can let the guest, as always, gets to go first. Pick his lineup live on the air. So what's your lineup going to look like here?
Yeah, I'll start it. I'm starting with Tua.
Tua. We didn't even talk about that. That was one of the games that I had listed here,
like
and we did not talk about that at all. Hold on, there we go.
I love Tua. For the record,
Yeah.
I just want to go on record to say I love Tua. I feel bad
I do
for the
too.
guy.
And the Jets
starting
are
to feel
a
bad
dumpster
for him,
fire.
for sure.
Well, with the way they handled that crap last week, the fact that he couldn't start, but he could come in and win the game,
Right.
it was just handled horribly by Brian Flores. So I will go with DeAndre Swift.
Swift.
One pride.
That's right, man. DeAndre Swift's all we got. He's all we got.
That's all we got.
I will also take AJ Dillon.
You are going to tie Cleveland and become the first team to tie.
Yes, that's what we're doing, man.
Yeah, it's going to happen. I feel it. I'm going to bet the tie.
So I'll go AJ Dillon.
Love that pick.
Can I talk about AJ Dillon for a second? Because we've been talking about him as a value play for weeks now, and how he's been stealing carries. Normally, DraftKings gets it wrong with an injury and doesn't price people up right away. They priced AJ Dillon up right away, and it was when I brought up the slates for this week, the first thing I did was go to check AJ Dillon's price, and I was like, "Oh, damn! They priced him up right away." I was hoping he was 4,500 or 4,900 like he's been, and they got it right for a change.
Yeah, the nice thing is he's not like a guy that wasn't getting touches that has to try to adapt to the offense. Like he's kind of going to be a plug and play, in my opinion. And then I will go with DJ Moore.
Okay.
Devontae Smith for you. Did that for you. That was thanks for inviting me guys on.
I love it. Guy's going to be a really good football player.
I'll go with Jalen Waddle.
Oh, I like that one.
Yep. I believe he's still only 5,600 as well.
Yeah, I'll go with Dalton Schultz. That's for your fantasy team, Jason.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
so
man.
he's picking players just to make us happy here. He's begging to come back on this show sometime.
I appreciate you guys. I'll take David Montgomery.
That's a value play this week for sure. I feel like that price is too cheap.
5,500.
Yeah.
And then I will finish with the Cleveland Browns defense.
Okay, Cleveland Browns. Going again. So that's a good theory question right there. You're taking Detroit's running back, but you're taking Cleveland's defense.
Yeah. So the reason is one, Swift got 32 touches last week, and two, he's really the only threat at this point. They only targeted TJ Hawkinson one time on 84% of the routes he ran. So yes, it might be Tim Boyle. It might be David Blau. It might be the Lord Jesus Christ, but nobody's been able to get the ball to anybody. And DeAndre Swift's been the guy. So although I think the Cleveland Browns defense is going to be opportunistic and probably turn the lines over 2 or 3 times.
Okay, that's fair. All right, let me clear this. Jason,
all right,
you can go next. Team. I'm sure you prepped really hard today for this one.
Yeah, I had a lot of time on my hands today. Tons. Jimmy G, the most handsome quarterback in the NFL.
Is that correct?
Yep. I'm going to stack him with Debo, like I mentioned.
It's pretty obvious right there. Yeah,
plug and play.
Yep.
I'm gonna bring that stack back with James Robinson. I just feel like that price is too cheap for him.
Okay.
Gosh, damn Urban Meyer for kind of like ruining what could have been another James Robinson year.
Yeah,
I like how they kind of figured out in the last 3-4 weeks that we should probably get our best player of the ball.
Oh, hey, we have a rookie quarterback. Maybe we should try to run with our best player. Yeah.
It makes a little bit of sense. I'm gonna go Dylan too, running back.
Yeah,
AJ
Dylan too.
I'm gonna go with the best blocking wide receiver in the NFL, Justin Jefferson.
Oh, I thought you meant JJ Arcega-Whiteside.
No.
Y'all
You guys
see
see
that
that block?
I was ready.
doing
I
that?
just heard blocking the wide receiver.
Yeah.
Hold on, who did
He's
you
like,
pick?
come on. It was awesome.
Oh, I love that
Who did you
kid.
pick there? I was making jokes and I didn't even hear.
I'm gonna go Gallup.
Who was the other wide receiver? Who's the blocking
Jefferson.
wide receiver? Jefferson. There you
Sorry.
go.
Yeah.
I was prepping myself to make a joke and I didn't hear the name. All right, Gallup.
I'm gonna stay in that same game. I'm going Conklin at tight end.
Smart. Been playing a lot of Conklin lately and having pretty decent success with it.
I'm gonna go with the Houston defense. All the way at the bottom. They're not even on the board.
They're not even on the board.
No.
All right, at least you have
And then I'm
5,800 for
gonna
that
go-
flex spot.
Christian Kirk, because I want upside and there's not many other guys that I like in this range.
All right. I love that you're taking that San Francisco Jacksonville game because I really, really want to play it. I just, I'm just not sure how I'm going to build around it and all.
Yeah, so that game and the Minnesota Green Bay game are my two favorites. So I kind of went with the heavy stacks on those two games.
All right. So now you get to see how I build because I'm so glad no one took the Dallas stack. Since I only have to beat the two of you, I don't got to beat 20,000 people. I could show you guys how to build around a Dak Prescott, Tyreek Hill stack here.
This
Just
lineup
Hey,
is
last
gonna
time I was on here, you were picking golfers like off the streets.
Yeah.
You had like
don't
four like
distract
10K
Austin
guys, and then just like a dude I'd never heard of.
Damn good golfer. Sean O'Hare. Love my
I think
Sean O'Hare.
I think it was Austin Eckler or Eckert, whatever his name is, the guy
Yeah.
that we didn't even know who he was at the time.
Yeah, and I think he's been playing lately, hasn't he? I think he's made a few
He's
cuts.
fine. That's
He's
super
He's
fun.
good
Yeah.
for a T46 until you pick him and he finishes third somehow.
Every time I take Sean O'Hare or Jason Duffner, they make the cut. That's all I can say.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. All right. Then we're going to go with Tyreek Hill, like I said. And we're going to throw Travis Kelce in there at my tight end. All right. We're getting really pricey here. Then we're going Ezekiel Elliott.
Oh my god.
Jeez.
Watch this. I pre-tested
This guy got like a $40,000 limit on his credit card, and he's just going like.
I don't even care. I don't even
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
man.
Everybody
I just
gets
got
a drink
email
on
that
me.
they're up in. All right. Michael Gallup leaves me with 3,900. All right. So here's how we're going to go. We're going to go back to that Miami game, and we're going to go
What running
Gaskin.
back are you gonna take?
Alex Gaskin.
Oh, Gaskin. Okay.
We're going to go to Detroit's defense, just so I could tease you a little bit here with this, okay? Back to wide receiver, a guy that's going to score a touchdown at some point. So I'm hoping he trends this week as as catches his first tight end, but he's getting a lot of targets.
Yeah,
Rashad
that's a
Bateman.
great pick.
Okay. So now we got 3,300. And this is my steal of the week. Hold on. Who did I have, Jason, a few weeks ago? Who did I say was 3K and was going to score a touchdown?
What was
Nobody
his
ever
name?
heard
I
of him
forgot his
other
name.
than me because he was a backup on the Eagles. Matt Collins. I
Matt
played Matt
Collins,
Collins
yeah,
2 weeks
yeah.
in a row at 3K, and he got 10 points both weeks.
Yeah, and then
All
you suckered me into Gainwell the week after that because you said the same thing.
I didn't play Gainwell, though, that week. I just suckered you into playing it.
Yeah, he played the tough Lions defense and it screwed me big time.
All right, so I want to preface this by saying it is an Eagle that I'm taking here. And this game, wide receivers, running backs aren't going to get a lot of touches because that's where they struggle. The Saints are good against the run and all. Jalen Reagor, for as bad as he is, and as much of a bust as he's labeled in Philadelphia, is still playing 70, 80% of the snaps. He's still getting targets. He is still, a focal point of the offense. He's just not producing yet. Devontae Smith, he's going to get a lot of double teams, a lot of double coverage. They're going to be able to stop the run. Jalen Reagor is going to score his first touchdown of the year this week.
When does Jalen Reagor show up to like how much longer do we have to wait?
You don't have to
Just
wait.
asking.
Sunday at 1:00.
No, I mean just for him to be like a legit player. Are we going to wait
He never
forever?
was like I don't want to bash him because I know people.
No.
bash him hard, and he definitely doesn't handle the criticism very well. I don't know if you've seen any of his social media posts. He does not handle criticism well at all. Okay, he struggles with it really bad. But coming out of college, there was some serious concerns. He was not a first-round wide receiver in my mind. And everyone's like, oh, he dropped the ball or didn't have great, target to catch percent because he had a bad quarterback. I'm like, no. A good wide receiver can elevate your quarterback. You get the ball, you got to catch it. He had one of the top drops his last year in college out of all NCAA, Division I. Yeah, he literally was catching only 54, 55% of the balls thrown his way. So all those things told me that's not going to fly in the NFL. It's just not. Yeah, he's got that 4.3 speed, but he's not an NFL, top 1 or 2 wide receiver in my opinion.
Probably should have just picked Justin Jefferson.
What's that?
Probably should have just picked Jefferson and went
for
it.
Or I was reminded last night on a show I did that we wouldn't even have Jalen Hurts if they would have they could have drafted Justin Jefferson, but there was an offer on the table to get CeeDee Lamb from the Falcons. All we had to do was give up our 2nd round pick that we took Jalen Hurts with.
So let's ask that real quick. I don't know how much. I'm sure we have a time limit. If you have CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson right now,
all night long.
If you got CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson right now, who are you guys taking? Because I think it's a legitimate debate. I really do.
They both do what they do extremely well, but they both do things differently. Is that a fair way to say it?
Oh, yeah. I think they're different players for sure. I mean, for me, Justin Jefferson's just such an elite route runner. But I also think Dak Prescott's considerably better than Kirk Cousins is. And I also think Justin Jefferson, it's tough because I can make points like CeeDee Lamb could have more targets because
Kirk Cousins is still a really good quarterback. He's not Dak Prescott, but he knows how to sling it and he puts accurate balls out there for the wide receivers. So
and you could argue CeeDee Lamb would be seeing more targets if there wasn't Amari Cooper and also Michael Gallup on the team, where Justin Jefferson has this Adam Thielen. I don't know. It's a good argument to make. I'm not sure the right answer. I probably would take Justin Jefferson, but
I think I would too. Jason?
Same.
Yeah. I don't know. I just like the bigger wide receivers. And I was so going into last year's draft, knowing where we were picking, I wanted Justin Jefferson so bad. That was my number 1 target. Just like this year, I wanted Devontae Smith with the Eagles. That was my number 1 target. I wanted Justin Jefferson too. I could just imagine Justin Jefferson lining up opposite of Devontae Smith right now and just thinking of what Jalen Hurts could do if he had those 2 wide receivers.
Just imagine this. Jalen Hurts with Khalif Raymond. Or Jalen Hurts with Amon Ross St. Brown. Like, imagine what he could do, man. Listen, nobody even knows who plays wide receiver for the Lions. It's a disaster. Give me Jalen Rieger all day long.
I wrote Amon St. Brown down as a question before I checked the weather as a value play this week.
Yeah.
Just so you know. So I
appreciate that.
I didn't know his first name was Amon. No, I just wrote down St. Brown. So thanks for telling me that.
Sure, man.
Oh, man. Yeah, so this has been an absolute blast. Let's put this back up there because this is going to be the score and the lineup that, again, takes down the crown on this 3-way battle here. Just gotta throw
hold on. Let me screenshot it real quick. Hold on. All right, good.
Yeah, you got it? Oh, man.
We were with you until you picked the Lions defense.
I actually really do like the Lions defense this week. Cleveland, Baker Mayfield stinks. He's injured. He's banged up. Chubb and Hunt are still out. They don't have a wide receiver.
Baker Mayfield stinks
this year. Yeah.
You think Jalen Hurts is better than Baker Mayfield?
No. Right at this second, yes, because he's healthy. I don't know.
You don't. All right.
This
I just was wondering. That was the question.
This year, if I need to win a game, obviously I would take Baker Mayfield. I think Jalen Hurts' ceiling is a little higher if he develops. But
does Jalen Hurts earn the right to be the quarterback next year for you guys?
That's a trick question because he has, but only because there's not a better quarterback coming out in the draft this year that has a higher ceiling than Jalen Hurts. Okay. If you can go out and get Russell Wilson, which is actually a pipe dream that I'm going to be so obnoxious hoping that Russell Wilson comes to Philly in the offseason. But if that doesn't happen, Jalen Hurts has to be your starter because there's nobody better.
Why would Russell Wilson come to Philly? I'm just being honest. Let me ask you, so say he has options between Denver, which is a roster constructed to win right away, or say he can go to
Denver's a roster constructed to win right now?
Yes, I do. I mean, I understand they gave away Von Miller, but I just don't know. Maybe he is. I don't know. But I just think So say Aaron Rodgers goes to wherever the hell Aaron Rodgers goes. He goes to Hawaii and whatever, takes mushrooms.
I'd like
Russell
to go
I just don't know. Like, maybe he would go to. Like, I just don't know if Philly has the roster right now to kind of get a Russell Wilson.
And that's why I call it a pipe dream. That's why the odds it's 99% likelihood not happening. But I am going.
It's fun to dream though. Pipe dreams are fun though, man.
Yeah, I mean, he did want to come here originally when he was in. He called Andy Reid when he was in the draft, and the Eagles took Nick Foles instead of Russell Wilson. So the Eagles, he called Andy Reid and said, "Pick me, and we will win a Super Bowl together." And they did. They missed out. They got beat by like 2 or 3 picks on him. So he's wanted to come to Philly before. I don't know. Devontae Smith, maybe Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, Miles Sanders. You got a great offensive line that can block for anybody. I don't know. The coaching staff, that's not enticing yet, and the defense has got issues. But offensively, there's building blocks there.
Last question.
All right.
Are we making Miles Sanders out to be a decent? Like, what is Miles Sanders besides kind of a disappointment?
He's a home run hitter. He's gonna be a guy that's gonna get you a lot of 2 and 3 yard gains because he jumps around like he's Barry Sanders back there, and he's obviously not Barry Sanders. But he has that potential 6 or 7 times a year to bust open a 70-yard touchdown run.
I got you. The Eagles are intriguing. Like, my team's not very intriguing. Like, the Eagles have intrigued me a little bit.
I got bashed. I got bashed in the entire offseason for saying on my show over and over again to trade Miles Sanders because his value was never going to be higher than it was, which you're questioning his value and who he is. So that shows me that he's not really, that elite upper echelon running back.
Yeah.
So you should have just traded him while his value was high. He's still on a rookie deal. So they should have, but everyone's like, why would you trade him? I'm like, running backs are a dime a dozen. Look, we just pulled Jordan Howard off the practice squad, and he's just had back-to-back huge games. Everyone said he was washed. So you can find running backs. You can win with the Boston Scotts of the world. You need a great quarterback. You need a great wide receiver. You need a great line. There's very few Derrick Henrys and Dalvin Cook. So that's why Miles Sanders, he's expendable to me.
There's like 5 running backs that are that elite. Otherwise, offensive line play, you can – look at what Cleveland's offensive line's fantastic. They could plug anybody back there and be successful, at least running the football.
Absolutely. I mean, it does help to have an elite offensive line and an elite running back. I mean,
sure.
then you become unstoppable. But you still got to – Miles Sanders, he's a good running back. You could do worse, but he's not a guy that's going to get that massive contract like he probably wants. Next year's the end of his rookie deal. So, he's going to probably be already talking about a deal this offseason, and he's not worth those big money deals that he's going to want.
I agree with you.
Yeah. All right. I mean, that was more Eagles talk on this show.
Sorry, man. Sorry. I was just because these questions just pop up in my crazy mind.
Because there's a lot of intriguing options with the Eagles for fantasy purposes but they always seem to let us down. So that's the problem. So
I can relate to that.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So DFS, no punt intended here on DSM Media. Thank you all for tuning in. It's been a great show as always. Thank you to Drew, aka at Detroit Dave 7, wearing that Lions shirt with pride there tonight. I love it. I love it. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me on, boys.
When will the approach be back there?
The Tournament of Champions. So I believe that's early January?
Yeah, it's like the second week. That's when we'll be back too.
Yeah. So enjoy your guys' break. Thanks again for having me on. It was fun talking football.
Yeah, absolutely. And for Drew, Jason, everybody watching, I'm not sure when we're going to do next week's show because next week's show falls on Thanksgiving. I want to wish Drew a happy Thanksgiving, obviously. We're going to work on the schedule.
Thanks, man.
Off the air, but we'll figure that out. Again, brought to you by Manscaped, the leader in men's grooming apparel and gear and products and everything. DFS at checkout. Get you 20% off and free shipping. That lets them know that we sent you. Make sure you use them. Check them out. We greatly appreciate the support. Hey, let's all cash in some GPPs this week. Does that sound like a good idea, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, let's